Air Staff, former Chief of Air Staff, esteemed veterans, officers, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very engaging session for the past 2 days, and I think all the speakers put up a very good show, and a very informed discussion flowed out of that. And for that, I must thank all the participants, not only the higher command officers, all veterans, people from the media industry, everyone very participative. I think that's a very positive thing. Some of the things which are spoken today were, I would say, kind of aspirational, and they were ideas which were probably of a speaker. That's an individual speaker had his own ideas, and then, of course, they were important because it is from these ideas we pick up things, and maybe then we'll be taking it forward. So most of them are very futuristic, and for us, if we accept those ideas, then we need to close the gap between that idea and the kind of capability we have today. As a military man, I've been in uniform now for almost about 44 years, and this particular subject of future warfare has been close to my heart. You people are aware that ever since I have taken over as CDS, I've spoken about this particular subject quite often. I have also started that future warfare course. You must be aware, at least 2 rounds of that have gone by. And in each session of this particular course, we're trying to improve things. We are also conceptualizing something known as a FOAG, Future Operation Evaluation Group, that should be formed in IDS, so that it can permanently take things, new ideas, and then we can fructify it. I think future warfare will demand kind of hybrid warriors. They should be able to fight on the borders, maneuver in deserts, plan complex counterinsurgency, counter-terrorist operations in dense urban terrain, neutralize drones, decode cyber intrusions, and wage influence operations. Hence, views on future warfare have to be agnostic of rank structure. We wanted actually larger participation of middle-level officers. We could only muster a few, but I hope in next sessions of Ran Samvad, we'll have more participation from middle-level officers, because their stake in this organization is much more than senior officers like us. I think tactics must blend seamlessly into operational large strategy in real time, and only a scholar warrior can do it. And let me reiterate this little thing about Shaastra and Shastra. They both have to run together if we have to fight and win in tomorrow. And what we need today is a scholar warrior who will be a master of art and science and strategy, and will adapt to lessons that are there from the history. We also need what will be called as a tech warrior, who will harness cutting-edge technology, cyber power, artificial intelligence, and data center kind of architecture. What we need is also an info warrior who will shape narratives, counter disinformation, and dominate the invisible battle space of perceptions. For the past 2 days, we've been speaking about the influence of technology on warfare, and we've discussed about how technology will influence tactics or strategy, and vice versa. 2 important elements of warfare, apart from technology and military strategy, are battlefield and combatants. We have not touched upon that. I think the Deputy Chief in one of his slides did mention about the battlefield architecture. I think the battle space for tomorrow is actually changing. Maybe I thought I'll dwell some minutes on this. We've all known about traditional domains and new domains of warfare. If you look at the traditional domain of land, I think the kind of terrain which nature has made, that open kind of a terrain, vastness of terrain, I think that's missing. And tomorrow, we may have to find in man-made terrain, which is slightly complex, and in urban kind of a terrain. Because most of the people actually live there, and that's where actually war has to be influenced. So maybe there is a requirement of, from masked use of force, small teams to work through that urban environment. You require technology like see-through detection radars, etc. We also may have to look at, subterranean warfare, the one kind of which is happening in Gaza, and this will require special techniques. Another adversary has almost more than 5,000 TBMs actually. So if some of them get employed, this will create a complex web. So warfare may go actually subterranean also. Similarly, in the maritime domain, we did speak about it, that from the maritime domain awareness, there's a need to look at underwater domain awareness, thing was spoken about, and also about seabed. So again, over here, we see that warfare is moving below surface. So, and this is also happening in a way, especially in the maritime domain, which you have grey zone warfare, IUU fishing, piracy, smuggling, etc., which makes things even much more complex. In the airspace, we've spoken about it, that the traditional airspace used to be about 20 kilometers, and then of course we have the near space, that's almost about 100 kilometers. That is because of use of hypersonics, that is glide or cruise, fractional orbital systems, high altitude balloons, HAPS, etc., coming in, and also the lower end of this airspace where a lot of talk was on about drones and loiter ammunition. Coming about on the new domains like space, traditionally we have considered orbital space as with geostationary kind of a top orbits, but today I think the emphasis is on lower orbital systems, LEOs, MEOs, that are becoming important, and even highly elliptical orbits apart from the geo. We may also have to look at lunar orbits in future, maybe, who knows, and maybe there may be requirement of cislunar orbits also. The cyberspace, we thought, is also expanding, and it's expanding into the digital domain. That's happening because our day-to-day life is actually being governed by digital space. Even governance by the government, even if they have to deliver any kind of a benefit to the common man, that is all dependent on digital technology. So cyber is graduating into digital. As far as EM, electromagnetic domain, is concerned, so right from VLF to SHF, earlier we thought that mostly electromagnetic domain will comprise of non-kinetic operations, but with that higher spectrum or higher energy bands, you're looking at direct energy weapons, so also there's a kinetic domain into it. So, and in the EM domain, the warfare may actually move from terrestrial to space also. As far as combatants are concerned, you find again a vast amount of change. Warfare has moved from being fought between organized tribes and feudal armies to armed forces of nation states, and now multi-protagonist wars have a different kind of war fighting or combatants. So recent conflicts in Europe and West Asia vindicates that the composition of combatants engaged in active warfare has expanded many folds. Alongside regular armies, now we have paramilitary forces, mercenaries. We know about the Wagner Group. We have contractors like the Blackwater Group, private companies actively involved in conflicts. In tomorrow's war, maybe, who knows, there will be robots and humanoids who will participate in warfare along with actual humans. We already have spoken about MUMT already as far as aerial warfare is concerned. Yesterday there was a talk on modern information warfare, and there was a good presentation by General Vishwas Rao on perception management. So that was his, if we say, individual effort. So ordinary citizens are now veiled participants in conflicts, primarily through digital means, cyber warfare, online propaganda, psychological operations, allow individually and citizens actually to participate in this kind of an warfare. I think these 2 days of Ran Samvad has clearly established the need to adapt and adopt to the changing dynamics of war, warfare, and warfighting, and acquire capabilities that enable multi-domain operations. Today, the technological evolution is not only transformative, but exponential. One of the speakers, Chandpuria Joshi 11 Core, had shown us an apt graph that showed the timelines of how technological advancements since World War I have changed from being linear to rising steadily to become exponential in the last few decades. I think to do this, we have to create capabilities. Couple of issues were discussed. Couple of people who deal with it had spoken about it at headquarter ideas. We are primarily into the job of integration, but along with this, we are looking at futuristic technologies. We are looking at infusion of artificial intelligence, data analysis. Any kind of procurement goes through the process of ORSA analysis, so with some kind of a rationalization is done over there. We are also taken out kind of a roadmap not only to stabilize this network-centric warfare, but also to move towards a data-centric warfare or intelligent warfare capabilities. May not be immediate, but in, say, another 5 or 10 years, we should be able to do that. Then enhancement of our computational part. There's a project Eklavya, which we are pursuing. Someone did make a mention about communication systems. I said about low Earth orbit satellites. That should be, we are looking at that particular capability also. And for a supportive role, I had spoken about Future Operations Analysis Group. We are also looking at something of a geospatial agency, which can actually get all the 3 services on the same platform, on the same map, on the same, like WGS 84. We are also looking at joint doctrines. We've already spoken about that, and we are looking at enhancing the capabilities of space and cyber. You may call it DSA plus or DCYA kind of and plus. Some of the key takeaways which I have been noting down from this first edition of Ran Samvad is, first is, I think, democratization for the means of violence, which is affordable attrition is leveling the power balance and asymmetries. That's the first lesson that we can take. Second, I think, is that precision is replacing mass. Third is warfare is slowly graduate from being human-led to machine-led. Ethical issues will need to be deliberated, identified, and addressed. Narrative building during the physical progress of conflict will become vital. That's the fourth lesson. Information warfare must get integrated into kinetic operations. That's the fifth lesson which I take. Need to evolve a US and a counter-US framework on a war footing. That thing I think is important, because the kind of emphasis on drones, well, at least the Army at least spoke about, the legacy technologies also matter and must concurrently invest in all those, along with dual use and disruptive technologies. Let me talk about jointness a little bit. As a CDS, I actually set out to promote jointness among the 3 services, and today I can say with some kind of pleasure and confidence that we can speak about our differences in a very conducive kind of environment, openness with patients and other different and alternate points of view without temperatures being risen. So even if you don't agree with the point, there could be hundreds of points which are discussed over here on which they may not have been, there could have been a dissonance among the 3 services, but yet we are able to listen to that point. I think that thing is very important, and I'm hopeful that something of this may have rubbed down to the veterans who are over here, which may hold actually even larger desire to protect their kind of turfs. So that, I think, is a very good sign. So if you have sensed some kind of a dissonance, let me assure you that we will resolve it to the best interest of the nation. So whether it is about drones or whether it is about air littoral, that's a term which I heard today, or say even integrated command structures. Sometimes, there were questions which actually all of them cannot be answered. Say, there were some questions about integration levels, and that we need to progress things faster and take it to a higher level. Be assured that we are doing our bit. Sometimes when you ask this kind of question, that this kind of integration we should have attempted actually 10 years back. And then we are here. So we are slightly late, but we need to close that particular gap faster. And there is a need to, I think, coordinate not only among the 3 services, in some cases along with intelligence agencies, CAPF, DRDO labs, etc. I think that's important. So that's all, gentlemen, from my side. And for me, it only leaves to thank Commandant Army War College and GOC&C RTRAC. And before we quit, I think we'll make Ran Samvad a regular kind of a feature. And what we will do is, I'll announce the next topic of Ran Samvad. That will be about multi-domain operations. And this event will be tentatively organized in May 26 at Agra under the aegis of Air Force Training Command. And we expect a wider participation, especially from the middle level officers. You will shortly hear about it. And we expect a large number of research papers coming onto it, and we'll have a suitable amount of prize money which will motivate people to do some original research on it. Thank you very much for this patient hearing. and thank you for this participation in this first edition of Ran Samvad. Thank you. Jai Hind.